I'm Emily Carter. For most of my life, I was the reliable one. The daughter who never said no, the woman who worked harder, stayed quieter, and carried everyone else's weight. I thought if I just tried a little more, they'd finally see me. But the day I realized my family didn't love me, they used me, everything changed. This isn't a revenge story. It's the story of how I stopped disappearing and finally chose myself. I remember the exact moment my body gave up before my mind did. It wasn't dramatic, no yelling, no slammed doors, just me sitting in my car outside my parents' house in suburban Naperville, Illinois, staring at my steering wheel, unable to turn it. My hands were shaking, not from fear, from exhaustion. I had just worked 10 hours at a marketing firm downtown, skipped lunch, answered emails on the train home, and instead of going to my own apartment, I drove here. Again. Because my mother had texted, "Can you come by? Your father's tired. We need help." They always needed help. And somehow, that help was always me. I sat there for a full 5 minutes, engine running, asking myself a question I'd never allowed before. What happens if I don't go inside? The answer terrified me, because part of me already knew. I was raised to be the responsible one, not the favorite, not the protected one, the useful one. My younger brother, Ryan, was the dreamer, the one who just needed time, the one whose mistakes were learning experiences. Mine were character flaws. If Ryan forgot to pay his phone bill, my parents laughed. If I forgot to pick up groceries, it became a lecture about selfishness. I moved out at 22, graduated debt-free because I worked through college, got a solid job, paid my own rent, and somehow became more responsible for them after I left. I handled doctor appointments, insurance forms, their online banking passwords, holiday planning, emergency errands. Whenever something went wrong, my phone rang. "Emily, can you handle this? Emily, you're better at this. Emily, you're the strong one." Strong meant available. Strong meant silent. By 32, I was exhausted in a way sleep didn't fix. At work, I was dependable but invisible. Always the one staying late, never the one promoted first. At home, I was single, paying my own bills, but still treated like unpaid staff. My mother once said, without irony, "I don't know what we'd do without you." It sounded like love. It wasn't. It was dependency disguised as appreciation. The pressure built quietly. I canceled vacations, skipped dates, turned down a job opportunity in Denver because my parents needed me close. I told myself it was temporary. It never was. The first crack came on a Sunday afternoon. I had just spent 6 hours helping my parents reorganize their garage. Heavy boxes, old junk, no thank you. When I mentioned, casually, that I might move closer to my office next year, my mother froze. Then she said, "So you're just going to abandon us now?" Abandon. That word landed hard. I laughed it off, but something inside me went cold, because I realized something terrifying. They didn't see my help as a choice. They saw it as an obligation. After that, the guilt escalated. If I didn't answer right away, my phone filled with messages. "Are you okay? We're worried. Family comes first, Emily." When I tried setting boundaries, they acted wounded. When I complied, they relaxed. It became clear. My discomfort kept them comfortable, and I was running out of energy to keep paying that price. The night that changed everything didn't involve yelling, just a request, a small favor, one that crossed a line I didn't even know I had. And when I hesitated, the mask finally slipped. What they said to me that night made one thing painfully clear. I wasn't their daughter. I was their safety net. And safety nets aren't supposed to have limits. That night, I drove home in silence. Didn't cry, didn't scream. Just realized, if I stayed like this, there would be nothing left of me to save. And for the first time in my life, I wondered what would happen if I stopped being the strong one. The first time I said no, nothing exploded. That's what surprised me. No yelling, no slammed doors, no dramatic confrontation, just silence. My mother read my text and didn't reply. Not for hours. Not for the rest of the day. The message was simple. I can't come by tonight. I'm exhausted. I need a night to myself. That was it. No excuses, no apology. I waited for anger. Instead, I got something worse. Distance. The next morning, I woke up to a voicemail from my father. His voice was calm, controlled, almost disappointed. Your mother was really hurt last night. We don't ask for much. I just hope you remember who's always been there for you. There it was. Not rage. Guilt. The kind that wraps itself around your ribs and tightens slowly. I sat on my bed, phone in hand, feeling like I'd done something wrong, even though nothing in my body felt wrong. That was the first time I noticed the pattern clearly. When I complied, I was a good daughter. When I hesitated, I became selfish. At work, I was praised for being easy to ask for help, easy to stay late, easy to handle pressure. At home, it was the same word, just uglier. You're just easier to talk to than your brother. You don't get emotional like other women. You're strong. You can handle it. Strong meant absorbing discomfort so others didn't have to feel it. And the more I tried to pull back, the more resistance I felt. After that night, things changed. Subtly, deliberately. My mother stopped asking how my day was. When I came over, conversations felt colder. My brother Ryan suddenly needed help more often. Could I help him with rent? Just this once? Could I co-sign something? Temporarily? Could I talk to Mom? She listens to you? Every request was framed as reasonable. Every refusal was treated like betrayal. I started dreading my phone. Not because of emergencies, but because every notification felt like a test. Around this time, my manager pulled me aside. She smiled, polite but distant. You're doing great work, Emily, but we promoted Jenna instead. She's more assertive. Assertive. I nodded, said I understood. But walking back to my desk, something clicked painfully into place. At work, at home, I was reliable, but never prioritized. Because people don't promote the person who always says yes. They promote the one who knows when to say no. The breaking weekend started with a simple plan. I had booked a short solo trip to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Nothing fancy, just 2 nights away, a quiet hotel, a book I hadn't opened yet. I told my parents a week in advance. My mother smiled tightly. That's nice. You deserve a break. Her tone didn't match her words. The day before I left, my father called. Your mother isn't feeling well. Maybe you can postpone? I closed my eyes. I had done this before. Canceled trips, rescheduled joy, delayed rest. This time, something inside me refused. I can't, I said softly. I already booked it. There was a pause. Then his voice hardened. I guess your priorities are clear. I hung up with my heart racing, and still, I packed my bag. At the hotel, I tried to relax, but my phone buzzed constantly. Missed calls, passive-aggressive texts. We figured it out, don't worry. Hope you're enjoying yourself. Family shows up when it matters. I stared at the lake outside my window, feeling anything but peaceful. This was the truth I didn't want to face. Even when I left physically, I was still emotionally trapped. When I came back, my mother asked me to come over. Her tone was calm. That scared me more than anger ever did. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd filled out college applications, paid bills, listened more than I spoke. She folded her hands. "We need to talk about your attitude." I blinked. "My attitude?" She nodded. "You've changed. You're distant, less available." My father chimed in. "We raised you better than this." That's when I understood. My independence wasn't growth to them. It was disobedience. I tried explaining how tired I was, how overwhelmed, how I needed space. My mother leaned back, arms crossed. "Everyone's tired, Emily. That's life." Then she said the sentence that rewired something in my brain. "You don't get to stop showing up just because it's inconvenient." There it was. I wasn't allowed rest, only service. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I just went quiet. Because in that moment, I finally saw it clearly. They didn't love me. They loved access to me. And access doesn't come with boundaries. That night, back in my apartment, I sat on the floor. Lights off, phone face down. I asked myself a question I'd avoided for years. If nothing changes, how long can I live like this? The answer scared me, because I knew I couldn't. Something had to stop, even if it cost me everything I'd been taught to protect. I didn't make any announcements, didn't send dramatic messages. I just started doing one small, dangerous thing. I stopped explaining myself. No long texts, no justifications, no emotional labor. And the moment I did, everything began to unravel. The strangest thing about deciding to change your life is that it doesn't feel heroic. It feels quiet. No music, no dramatic declaration, just a deep, steady exhaustion that finally outweighs fear. For me, the decision came on an ordinary Tuesday night. I was standing in my kitchen, reheating leftovers, when my phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Your father needs help tomorrow morning. Don't be late." No question mark. No, "Are you available?" Just an assumption. Something in my chest tightened, then released. And I thought, I can't do this anymore. Not angrily, not bitterly, just truthfully. I didn't decide to cut my family off that night. That's important. I decided something smaller and scarier. I decided to stop making myself smaller to keep them comfortable. I replied, "I can't tomorrow. I have work." That was it. 2 sentences, no explanation. My hands shook after I hit send. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to soften the impact. The phone rang within seconds. I didn't answer. It rang again, then a voicemail. My father's voice was clipped, controlled, the way it always got when he felt challenged. "This is unacceptable, Emily. We count on you. You don't get to just disappear." Disappear. I laughed softly, alone in my apartment. Disappear. As if I hadn't been showing up my entire life. That night was brutal. I paced, checked my phone, fought the urge to call back and apologize for a boundary I had every right to set. This is something no one tells you. Setting boundaries feels like being cruel when you were trained to be useful. I slept maybe 3 hours, but I didn't give in. And that changed everything. Over the next few weeks, the pattern became painfully clear. When I didn't comply, my mother cried. My father lectured. My brother avoided responsibility. I was labeled cold, selfish, dramatic. When I complied again, even a little, everyone relaxed. The tension vanished. I was praised for coming around. It wasn't about concern. It was about control. And once I saw that, I couldn't unsee it. One evening, my mother cornered me during a family dinner. She smiled sweetly in front of everyone. "You've been distant lately. Is everything okay with you?" The table went quiet. Old me would have explained. New me took a breath. "I'm fine," I said calmly. "I'm just prioritizing my life more." Her smile tightened. "Family should come first." I met her eyes. "I am family too." The silence that followed was thick and uncomfortable, and for the first time, I didn't rush to fill it. Something changed after that, not around them, inside me. I stopped rehearsing conversations in my head, stopped anticipating their reactions, stopped trying to manage everyone else's emotions. I focused on practical things instead: my savings, my lease, my work performance, my mental health. Because here's the truth no one warned me about. When you stop being emotionally available to people who rely on you, they escalate. And my family did. My plan wasn't dramatic. It was strategic. Step 1, financial independence, fully. I reviewed every shared expense, canceled anything I was paying for that wasn't mine. Phone plans, streaming services, temporary loans that were never repaid. When my brother asked why, I said, "I can't afford it anymore," which wasn't a lie. I couldn't afford the emotional cost. I stopped going over multiple times a week, then once a week, then once every 2 weeks. No explanation, just consistency. They noticed. They panicked. When my mother vented, I didn't fix it. When my father complained, I didn't mediate. When my brother asked for help, I didn't step in. I listened politely. Then I let the discomfort sit where it belonged, with them. One Sunday afternoon, my parents showed up at my apartment unannounced. That alone told me everything. My mother stood stiffly in the hallway. "You've been avoiding us." I didn't deny it. "I've been busy." My father's voice hardened. "Busy enough to forget your responsibilities?" There it was again. Responsibilities. I felt my pulse steady instead of spike. "I don't have responsibilities to manage your lives." The word surprised even me. My mother gasped. "How can you say that?" I looked at her calmly. "Because it's true." My father stepped forward, voice sharp. "You think you're better than us now?" I shook my head. "No. I just think I deserve a life." His face changed. Anger flickered. "You're being ungrateful, after everything we've done for you." That was the line, the one they always used. And for the first time, I didn't accept it. "You didn't raise me to be independent," I said quietly. "You raised me to be convenient." The room went still. They left furious, accusing, hurt, loud. I locked the door behind them and slid down against it, shaking, but not regretful, because something had shifted permanently. The weeks that followed were lonely. I won't lie about that. Friends didn't fully understand. Some said, "But they're your parents." Others said, "Maybe you should just compromise." But here's what no one saw. I had been compromising my entire life, and I was done paying that price. The messages slowed, then stopped. Not because they understood, but because they were planning. I felt it in my gut. The calm wasn't peace, it was pressure building. Something was coming, and deep down I knew whatever happened next would decide whether I truly walked away or got pulled back in forever. The final attempt didn't come as rage. It came as vulnerability, which somehow felt more dangerous. It was a voicemail from my mother. Her voice sounded tired, older. "Emily, I don't know what happened to us. We just miss you." I listened to it 3 times. Old me would have folded instantly, but this time something felt off. Not the sadness, the timing. Because people who respect boundaries don't suddenly remember them when they lose control. I agreed to meet them one last time. Not out of guilt, out of clarity. We met at a small café halfway between our neighborhoods. Public, neutral, safe. My father arrived first. He didn't hug me, didn't smile. He sat down like this was a negotiation. My mother followed, eyes red. She reached for my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't lean in either. At first, they apologized, sort of. "We didn't realize you felt this way. We were just trying to help. Families support each other." I listened. Then I said calmly, "I'm not here to explain myself again." My father stiffened. "So what do you want, Emily?" There it was, the transactional question. I took a breath. "I want a relationship that doesn't require me to disappear." Silence. My mother frowned. "That's dramatic." And just like that, the truth slipped out. My father leaned back, crossed his arms. "You've changed. You're not as useful as you used to be." Useful. Not loving, not valued. Useful. I nodded slowly. "That's exactly the problem." My mother scoffed. "So what? You're just done with us now?" I looked at both of them, really looked, not as my parents, as people. "I'm done being controlled," I said. "If that means distance, then yes." My father's voice hardened. "You'll regret this." I didn't flinch. "No," I said quietly. "I already regret staying too long." They waited, for tears, for backtracking, for me to soften. I didn't. I stood up, placed cash on the table, and said, "If you ever want a relationship with me, it will be respectful, or it won't exist." Then I walked out, hands steady, heart pounding, back straight. That was the last time I saw them. The weeks after were strange, quiet, too quiet at first. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for guilt to swallow me whole. It didn't. Instead, something unexpected happened. I slept better. I laughed more easily. I stopped bracing myself before checking my phone. The tension I'd carried for decades slowly loosened its grip. Without constant family demands, space appeared. Real space. I took the job offer I'd been putting off, moved closer to the city, started therapy, not because I was broken, but because I wanted to heal properly. I dated without apologizing for being busy. I rested without explaining why. I learned that peace doesn't arrive loudly. It settles in quietly when chaos finally leaves. Nothing dramatic happened to my parents. No public downfall, no apology tour. And that's important, because real life rarely hands out cinematic karma. The reward wasn't watching them suffer. The reward was no longer suffering myself. They lost access to me, and I gained myself back. If you're watching this and thinking, this feels familiar, I'm the responsible one too. They only notice me when I pull away. I want you to hear this clearly. Being needed is not the same as being loved. You are not selfish for wanting rest. You are not cruel for setting boundaries. You are not broken for choosing peace over approval. Some people will only value you when you stop giving them unlimited access. And that's not your failure. That's your clarity. Walking away didn't make me heartless. It made me whole. I didn't lose my family. I lost a role that was destroying me. And in its place, I built a life that finally felt like my own. If you're standing at that edge right now, scared, exhausted, unsure, I promise you this. Choosing yourself doesn't end your story. It's where it finally begins.